What is going on? This is Shango Ray, aka Real Deal Ray. And this message is brought to you by me. Okay. No, before we get started, like, share, subscribe, and thrive. Like, share, subscribe, and thrive. Like, share, subscribe, and thrive. I'm going to just jump right into this. These are just some of my thoughts. Feel free to comment below, add your 2-3 cents or whatever, or not. But there's something that came to me like this. Some of these downloads, they happen when you least expect it. They don't go off a schedule. I tried to tell the wife that before long ago. I'm like, look, the way I work is just different. Like, it's hard to schedule certain things because, yes, you can, and I'm all for some type of a routine and all that shit, but, they just come. Anyways, so, by the way, the title is Why You Can't Breathe. All right? And you want to stick around because shortly I'm going to also tell you how to get a hold of some tools. There's nothing like being your own goddamn savior. There's nothing like being your own Jesus de Cristo, okay? Your own Christ, your own, shit's kind of fucking deliciously sexy, okay? I'm just going to say that. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to tell you how that you can kind of fight this. There's a war going on here, okay? It really, really, obviously, we all know this, right? But so I'm walking to the store the other day, maybe about a week ago. I actually had to let this kind of digest, and I even did a little bit of study and shit, but I didn't write down notes or whatever. I got it right here, man. Okay. But so I'm walking to the store. There's a building, okay? And this building has been refurbished and and it has brand new windows and whatever, but nobody's rented it. It's this big office building kind of. And of course we just had, the riots and stuff maybe a couple weeks ago, and there's still a lot of things. There's still a lot of places around here that's still boarded up. But somebody had taped a bunch of cardboard over the windows with slogans, we stand with the Black Lives Matter, and we're here with you, and it's kind of, you can tell the same person that owns this building owns the one right next to it, and I've seen the person that owns it, and it's kind of hopefully if we put these signs up, they won't wreck our shit type of thing, but whatever. But what happened is, and this building is right by a crosswalk, so as I'm waiting to cross the street, I bang the thing, and I'm looking, and it's all of a sudden this download, I got this download, and I'm looking at everything just kind of went I kind of got a broader perspective real fast, almost in a nanosecond. And it was there is a serious war on the breath. No, I'm not talking about halitosis breath or a breath that smells like a bag of dicks with a cup of shit diarrhea dip. Okay, I'm not talking about that. There should be a war on that type of breath. Okay, I think we all agree on that. Okay, but there is a war on the breath. Okay, and I really started thinking about that because I seen that, and of course one of the cardboards said, "I can't breathe." And as you know, this shit has become a mantra. And I understand from a human perspective, if I look at it through my humanity, I can understand why that is such an impassioned phrase. However, I'm way more than human. Human is just a fraction of what I am. So I must take an occult perspective on things. And this is for all my occultists. Shout out to y'all. But there's always a story behind the story behind the story. Okay, so for some reason, when I looked at this sign this one time, and I've been seeing this shit everywhere, like you have, it really made itself apparent to me. There is a war on the breath. The breath. Okay, now let's start just at the beginning of this year. Okay, you had C19, right? What is C19? What is the main way C19 takes your ass out? It basically asphyxia. You can't breathe, right? So not only this killer disease running around, okay? And by the way, for the sake of this conversation, this brief conversation, I'm putting aside any theories, any of this. I'm just sharing what came through. So you have this C19 business, and that's all about, when you're really fucked up, they put you on a respirator. So that machine is breathing for you. And statistically speaking, from what I understand, when you get put on a respirator, it's almost curtains for you. You know what I'm saying? Almost curtains for you. Because your body almost doesn't know how to adjust back. I mean, people have recovered from being on, but if you notice, that shit attacks your ability to breathe. Therefore, the breath. Okay? Then what? Then we had this whole thing with masks everywhere. We still got this mask bullshit going on. And I'm sure years down the line, maybe, perhaps, we will hear information about how certain people have really fucked themselves up by wearing these masks all fucking day. Okay? Running, jogging, exercising with a fucking mask on. Okay? That type of shit. Just humanity shit. Okay? But once again, what does that affect? That affects your breath, And I don't think it's an accident. Call me crazy. I will allow myself to sound crazy, but I don't think it's an accident that even in the midst of, the situation with George Floyd, and of course now one of his last sentiments has been echoed passionately by millions, if not billions, of people worldwide, and it's almost become a mantra. And from a occultist perspective, I'm looking at what all this means, and I'm like, well, why would they attack the breath? Well, first of all, from a physiological standpoint, the breath is just one of them strange, weird, mystical things. You see, it is involuntary. You cannot stop yourself from breathing. However, it's the one function besides, blood flow, your heartbeat. Granted, I know some people can actually slow their heartbeat down and even stop their heartbeats, but those are very few in between. Like, the average person can't do that, has no control over that. Okay? Digestion, you name it, all involuntary. Meaning you got no business fucking with that. Okay? You can't do nothing about that. Breathing, however, is the one that is actually involuntary and voluntary at the same time. At any moment, you can override the involuntary and hold your breath or breathe in a particular fashion. Okay? All that type of stuff. I was very actually amazed at the process that when you actually breathe through your nose, I didn't know there was a difference between breathing through your mouth and your nose. There's a whole cleansing process that goes all the way. There's like a very immaculate process before the air actually goes into them little tiny air sacs in your lungs. Okay. Along the way, though, see, this is the thing. When you take control of your breath, because you'll notice this about the breath too. Physiologically speaking, anyways, if I just focus on a spot on the wall, right, to relax myself, my breathing will automatically start to slow down. Conversely, I can consciously slow my breath down to relax myself. But whichever way I go, whichever path I go, my breath is going to end up slowing down naturally, comfortably. You know what I'm saying? Controlled breath is what activates the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system, as my psychology teacher once told me, is not that sympathetic. Okay, it's very harsh. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for like when it's time to get down, when it's time to fight, when it's time to run, when you're terrified, when you're stressed, anxiety, all them things. Also, the sympathetic nervous system keeps you in the beta state of mind, if not gamma, depending. Gamma when it's like really serious, like there's a robbery and everything's slowed down, and it was like slow motion. I seen the barrel of the gun, that type of shit, you know. Um, but parasympathetic, the way I was taught was imagine para, like a parachute. It's slowing your shit down. So when you're actually able to consciously access your breathing and begin to slow yourself down in a relaxed fashion, you also stimulate the vagus nerve, because that vagus nerve runs all the way from your gut to your brain, okay? The vagus nerve is one of the main highways for what you would call your intuition. Your access to other types and forms of knowledge and information and data that you necessarily, by scientific terms, shouldn't have access to, right? We've all heard how, maybe you've heard, maybe you haven't, but the magical states of mind where things really get cooking are alpha state and theta state and even gamma state, which is past delta. So when you're in a sleep delta, if you want to go even deeper than that, it's gamma, okay? But let's just say alpha and theta for this part. That's where you can really, that's where the magic happens, okay? Starting with alpha, but definitely in theta, that is where the magic happens. So if I want to keep fucking with you, if I want to keep you razzled, if I want to keep you in a fear-based state, angry, you know what I'm saying? You can't get a better weapon than fucking with somebody's ability to breathe. And we all know the average person, especially in the Western world, walking around is stressed the fuck up, vexed, tight. And when you're tight, your breathing's really, really shallow. And therefore, you're not getting enough breath. Controlled breath, I was surprised to find out, even just on a physiological level, we're not even talking spiritual shit, affects genetic expression, yo. That's just on the physical. That's just dealing with your meat suit, with your avatar suit. We're not even talking about the spiritual shit. But the spirit, the breath is the one thing you have. That is the gateway. I mean, you look up how many times the breath is mentioned in the Bible, just one of the books, right? I don't know about all of them. I mean, I'm more familiar with starting with, in order, the Bible, and then the Quran, and then, of course, a bunch of, as far as just religious texts, right? And a lot of times you can substitute breath for like your divine self, if you will, or divine, that life force, okay? That anima that animates you, the only thing that can breathe through your avatar. That's the only reason you can breathe, because you got that ism, that skill, you got that divine spark that breathes for you. You know what I'm saying? So if I can affect your ability to breathe, I can start to work on your frequency. I can start to get you trapped and encumbered in this physical matrix type thing. Now, I know there's a lot of shit to cover here, as far as like who would be wanting to do this. And of course, if you want to really go down the occult rabbit hole, I would suggest, and one of the first, I'm going to give credit on this as far as like, it's been mentioned a lot of times, but one who's actually put a spotlight on it is Brother Panic, speaking about archons, these other dimensional entities which love to feed on your fear, your anger, all these lower vibrational emotions, but they're food. And we have all been a part of the buffet. We've all been eaten on. And if you look at anything from the news, like the news feeds, Nobody watches the news unless you old as shit, right? But news feeds on your IG, Facebook, that's the new news now. People don't sit in front of the TV so much. I mean, I know some people still do, but a lot of the older folks still do. You know what I mean? But the younger ones, you get it even worse than the older folks because you're constantly doing this shit. And there's, I mean, constant stimulation of your adrenal glands, of your sympathetic nervous system. So for the most part, most of y'all are not going to be breathing right. So number one, I want to suggest that you find something extremely simple that you can do. Okay. I actually have a book, Winning with Worry, where I show you how to like integrate worry. So when it does pop up, you're not fighting it and shit like that. But that's available on my site, shango-ray.com. But that's got one of the simplest breathing techniques that you can find. There's a lot of simple, anything, just where you just take a breath. You don't even got to count. But make sure the hardest part is remembering to breathe and to breathe correctly, like from your stomach. You want your stomach to like puff out as you're breathing in like an accordion and then contract when you're breathing out. You know what I'm saying? And whatever number you want to use, I'm not an advocate for any particular type of breathing technique. My strong suggestion to you people is that you find something that works for you. Now, if you're interested in tools that will assist you in winning this particular war, because there is definitely a war, and there's going to be a war, number one, within you, your lower self and your higher self. And that is reflected outside of us all by the fuckery and the shenanigans that we see. So there is really only one person to conquer. But I tell you what, you're not going to conquer shit if you ain't breathing. Even a skilled, seasoned martial artist will tell you, without breath, you ain't got no power. You ain't got no power. So there are so much different things that ride. And if someone can affect your ability to breathe, yeah, that fuck shit. I mean, that's going to keep going. And you best believe C19, the second half of the first season of C19, will be airing soon. So get ready for that too, because best believe they want you to be comfortable though. Trust and believe, oh yeah, everything's gonna be cool. It's gonna be a V-shaped recovery. Everything's gonna be just great, you know. They want you to fucking get comfortable again because they look for them fear spikes. You know, and with any type of stimulation, eventually you get used to it. So now it's not a spike, it's kind of just, you know, COVID-19, you know. Okay, riots. All right, now pretty soon them riots will fucking calm down again. So now what? You know, activate the C19 again. Round 2, baby. You know what I'm saying? Shit, that's what it's going to be. I know it. And if not that, then something else. They are constantly trying to find ways to stimulate your adrenal glands, your sympathetic nervous system. Okay? So if you want to get a hold of some tools, start to work with your breathing, start to program your aura, go to Boras Bruja Boutique. We have a plethora of different kinds of oils depending on what you want to do. Have a look around. Check it out. But one of my most potent weapons, I got to tell you, because I'm going to tell you also, finances is also a weapon. And a lot of these wars that we're going to be fighting are going to be fought with your finances or your lack of finances, okay? It is important to get your house in order in the physical as well as the spiritual. The Quantum Bruja doll has single-handedly been one of my most powerful tools in the past 2 years that I have had the pleasure of working with, because I'm working with myself, but it is like a portal to other versions of myself. So speaking of this whole war, since you want to be in a war, get yourself the best fucking tool. And yes, this is Mini Go, I know. Pimping like a motherfucker, right? Okay. So head on over to Boras Bruja Boutique. Check out the Quantum Bruja doll. I promise you, you will not be sorry. If you work it, it will work 10 times harder for you. Okay, you take a step towards it, it'll take 5 towards you. You will be surprised what will come through this portal, okay? Because you're talking about different dimensions and stuff like that. But number one, remember to fucking breathe. All right, breathe.